How is a progressive queer church different than other organized religion in America? What does it mean to be LGBTQ, welcoming, accepting, affirming church? Welcoming churches let you enter, sit and listen, and if their messages can change you, then you go to heaven. These churches are neither queer nor affirming. Open and affirming is the common language that we in the queer faith community use to demonstrate that a church not only recognizes that LGBTQ plus people deserve respect, but also the affirmation that they are equally loved by God, regardless of who they love or how they identify with their gender. And the third category is queer churches, just like Sunshine Cathedral Church, which affirms that each of us is a divine child of God. Sunshine Cathedral is a progressive queer church where everyone is welcome and treated equally. Yes, that is true. That is true. I love it. And you know, something that I heard a while ago is there's a difference between open and affirming and welcoming and celebrating.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
There really is. Open and affirming. Yes, we see you. You're here. You can come in. You can sit. You can give. You can sing in the choir. Mm-hmm. But are there queer people in the church leadership? Mm-hmm. Are there queer people on the church board? Are there queer people running the place? That's a little different between welcoming and celebrating, mm-hmm. where we truly welcome you and celebrate you wherever you are in your faith journey, in your life journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and open affirming will tell you you're okay.
Yeah.
You know, you might even be the pastor or the music director or whatever, because you're okay.
Yeah.
And that's nice. Mm-hmm. I mean, thank God for that.
Yep.
But at a queer church, we say queer is a gift, mm-hmm. that you are different, and that's good. Like, it's not okay that being queer is great the way being tall is great, mm-hmm. or being multilingual is great, or having a certain ethnic background is great, or because it's you. And that your presence in the rainbow diversity of life is a gift to the world. So we celebrate the queerness, whereas open affirming accepts, maybe even affirms, maybe even blesses, maybe even has an annual LGBT celebration day. Maybe actually does, hire a gay person or two. But in our queer church, queer is central. So what happens is, sometimes people say, well, what about the straight people? Oh, you mean the people who can go absolutely every church on the planet? We love them, but they come here for what we are.
Yeah.
We don't have to straighten up for them. Do you know what I mean? Because they had every straight church in the world to go to, and they chose us.
Yeah.
What people want isn't for us to be like them. What they want is for us to be authentic, and then they can identify that. And then sure enough, almost every straight person, and we have dozens and dozens, comes to find out they love the music, they have a queer child, queer grandchild, queer sibling, their best friend died of AIDS, something. And so they identify with us, but they don't feel acknowledged or ministered to for that in other places. And so we have, I think we have the straight population we do here because we live so authentically into our queerness. I think we have our Jewish and Muslim and even agnostic members of our community because we are so authentic about who we are. And people get the sense if they can be who they really are, maybe they'll let me be who I really am.
Yeah.
And and the word for that is even more, we says about we'll treat you equally. Hopefully we even do better than that. Hopefully we treat you equitably, because equally means all the same, but sometimes you need more. You're more hurt, or you're more disadvantaged, or you're more scared, or whatever, and you need a little bit more. So equity means we try to get you what you need, and it might be a little more than it just depends. But we are trying to make sure everyone gets what they need. You need a little bit more. We'll see what we can do about it. So we and I'm not saying we get it right. I'm not saying we are totally non-sexist, totally non-racist, absolutely no internalized homophobia. That it's all equity all the time. But it is our goal.
Yeah.
And when it's your goal, you'll move toward the goal. And so better to have the goal, be moving in that direction, hit the mark sometimes, than to not have the goal.
Right.
Because then you'll never hit it ever.
We had a family who came to the cathedral many years ago, and the way they ended up coming here was because this particular mother's child was up for being elected as an elder in a particular church. And
Rhymes with lesbiterian.
the elder and the church said no to this very out gay person being on the elder because they were gay. And I just remember her words to me one day. I mean, it speaks wonderful the power of the love of a mother. She said, "If my son is not welcome, then I'm not welcome."
Yeah.
And this was a family church that was basically, the family was a part of this church from the founding of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
It was a family church.
Yeah.
And they left. And they came here to make Sunshine Cathedral their home until they both passed away. And so that story reminds me of the difference between welcome and affirming and being who you are authentically to welcome people just as they are. And I've often said, I don't want to ever be in a place where someone has to vote to determine if I'm welcome or not.
Right.
Especially when it comes to church.
Exactly.
I ought to be welcome regardless as to whatever vote. And for those who go through that, if that's what you need, that's wonderful.
It's
Not taken
improvement.
away.
Bless it.
It's
We
a wonderful
want 'em out
improvement.
there.
But for me and myself, me and my household, this is what I
But
need.
this church was founded by and for queer people.
Yes.
And we read scripture through queer lenses. We are trained in queer theology. And so that is different than, we're all God's children, we're all good, and we're going to try to get along with everyone. If that was every church's message, we probably wouldn't even need the more radical versions of us. But it's not. And there's just something about being part of at least one, sometimes we're part of several affinity groups. It's nice to be with progressive religious people. It's nice to be with non-binary people. It's nice to be with queer people. It's just nice to be with people who get you.
Yeah.
And in a queer, with this big tent queer, you could be part of several of those affinity groups all in one place.
My faith journey kind of goes through every single one of those languages that we use to talk about church. In the church I grew up, a North American Black Baptist church, my pastor was very involved in the civil rights movement. He spoke often about civil rights, but somehow or another, even after Stonewall, gay rights never came up. It doesn't mean that I lived through anything ugly in my church, but as I started talking to my friends, the stories that they told about the oppression that they lived through, the sermons that may have spoken about something terrible for about 2 seconds and then said, those homosexuals.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we've got to be careful of them. And that led me to get away from church for a very long time. A friend of mine living in DC went to a queer church, and my husband and I were like, what in the heck is a queer church? So we go to that church and get a different message than we've ever heard. And I can never go back. I can never go back to anything other than a church that says, you are perfect just as you are.
Yeah.
So this church, and the other question people ask is, why do we still need queer churches? And my answer today is easier than it's ever been.
Right.
Yeah.
Look around at what's going on. Look at the legislation. Look at what they're trying to push us back into a closet that some of us were never in.
Yeah.
And that's why we still need queer churches.
And not just queer. I think there are places that will certainly welcome and accept. There's that. And there are places that will even celebrate. Yay, gay. But they'll say, okay, your interpretation of the Bible's condemnation of gay was wrong. And then they never go past that. Progressives will say, if they got that wrong, what is the probability that they didn't get anything else wrong?
Yeah.
So because we had to challenge the homophobia, we also had to challenge the misogyny and the transphobia and the racism. And then we couldn't stop there. We had to be, okay, people who were faithfully and honestly atheist, should we just dismiss them or listen to what they have to say? Maybe they can help us understand the sacred and divine even better. And then, then maybe prayer isn't asking Santa Claus for favors, and maybe, and so nothing is off limits. We kept questioning everything. Once we questioned the gay question, we realized that integrity wouldn't let us stop there. And so we had to question it. So that's what makes us progressive, is that nothing is beyond question. What makes us queer is that we celebrate our queerness as a divine gift. And so when we say we're the largest progressive queer church, that's because the idea is we might be the only one, but if there's two, we're the largest.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.